Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. As you already know, love the blues here at Boomerocity, and any chance I get to talk to a blues musician, I'm going to take it. And a couple years ago, I talked for the first time with Canadian blues great Colin James and had a wonderful time. I was supposed to catch a show after that he was at with Buddy Guy. Scheduling screw ups knocked me out of doing that, and boy, I've regretted it ever since. But boy, Collins is as great as ever. He's got this new album out called Chasing the Sun. And I'm telling you, folks, every song on it is great. I kid you not. I love it. Of course, I have a favorite or two on there. You'll just have to listen to the interview to find out what it is. But Colin and I said he was up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I here in the great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. And we had a lovely, delightful chat about everything. Gosh, we talked about the previous album, this new album. We talked about Stevie Ray Vaughan, Bonnie Raitt, a bunch of others. Man, we had a great time just chatting. It was a lot of fun. I think you'll feel like you're just sitting there with us as you watch or listen to this. And if you don't mind, when you're done listening, or even while you're listening, would you hit like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on? And go ahead and share it with your friends that you think might enjoy it as well, and ask them to do the same thing. So without any further ado, here is my second of what I hope are many more interviews with blues great Colin James. And I just know you're going to love it. Have I told you that already? Anyway, until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. It's been a couple years since I talked to you. What's happened in the last couple years before we chat about your album?
Well, I guess we were talking open road. We were talking my last record.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I I think we're all still kind of recovering from the pandemic blip, I mean, I think that was that was such a resounding issue, especially for musicians or anyone involved in the music industry, because of course, as you know, everything stopped. So I guess we're just trying to get back on footing. I made the record in a pretty timely manner, maybe a little longer than I would have liked from the last one, but, well, no, it was alright. No, we're back on schedule, and I'm in that weird zone now where you've had a record done for a while, and now you have to talk about it, and it wasn't that long. I guess I went in October to Nashville, and we did overdubs during, November, December, and into January with mixes, and then you have that kinda dead period where it's not out and it's not coming out, and then, it's a weird time, and you have to sit there and just basically put your record to bed in your mind. You have to just kinda go, "All right, it's done, put it away, move on, and just live your life until it's ready." So now I'm going to that phase where it's ready.
Now you got to remember everything about it, right?
Yeah, I know. Even names like I mean, just kind of trying to remember who played saxophone, Jim Hoke, and all those little deets.
So how long you said it took what, about 4 months from beginning to it being ready for packaging, more or less, roughly?
Yeah, I mean, I went straight off the road, straight to Nashville. We recorded in a little studio behind Colin Linden's house in Nashville, and it's pretty cool because he built it to be a studio. It wasn't like an afterthought. So you got a nice little coffee area, and then a bedroom where I slept. My station was right at the end of my bed, so I'd have a couple coffees, and then Daryl Jones and Charlie Drayton would walk
Oh,
in, and it basically into my my bed was here, my station was at the foot of my bed, and then Daryl Jones right here, and I'd never met Daryl or Charlie. We were on the same label with Virgin America years ago,
mhm.
and I opened up a bunch of shows with the Keith Richards Take It So Hard tour way back then.
Mhm, mhm.
But I never met Charlie, and just watched with awe from a distance going, "Whoa, you know, what a player." And, anyway, so that was kinda heady because we started writing up my own songs, and you're always, like, a little self-conscious about your own songs. You don't try to be, but, that you've written them in your head, you've demoed them, and now here's a member of the Rolling Stones, and you know, it's a little hard on the head as far as just you got to keep it in. Is like I don't know, don't make any excuses. It's all right. And we just went in at it, and what a nice couple people they were, man. Daryl, all the years with Miles Davis and Sting, and you wouldn't know it. His attitude was just a team effort and a nice person and wonderful. And Charlie the same way. So, and Colin and I, Lyndon, we go back to when I was 13 years old. I
Oh,
met
wow.
Colin when I met Colin when I was 13, and he was 16. And at that time, Colin was a young. He was on the tip of everyone's tongue because he was so young, but knew how to play like Blind Blake and Robert Johnson and Tommy Johnson and Son House, and I mean, he knew everybody and was quite a piece of work. And we met and became kind of instant friends because we had the same name and we both played. And I was just a little guy on a 13-year-old, and he went, he was just really kind way back then. And this is I think our fifth record together.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You mentioned Daryl and, Charlie Drayton. I mean, I've interviewed some of the guys in the Stones. One of them already gone, over the years. I've interviewed, um, oh god,
Charlie or
Chuck Liddell a few times,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
then, Bobby Keys before he passed. I interviewed him when he came out with his book. That was early on, and then,
yeah.
uh, Lisa Fisher before she left the band, Bernard Fowler a few times. Every one
Oh,
of those people, I mean, you think they're working with the bad boys of rock and roll, and I'm thinking they're going to kick my butt. They're going to chew me up and spit me out. And
uh,
every one of them,
yeah.
just gracious and kind. And I was blown away by all of them. And I've heard the same about Daryl. I hope to talk to him sometime, but I've heard
He's
great things about him. So
absolutely fabulous, and I mean, just like yeah, just great. And Chuck, Chuck played on some of my little big band records years ago, so Chuck and I go way back, and I
yeah.
love Chuck. I didn't see them when they played Vancouver the other day, sadly, but
Yeah, I
I've
did.
I've seen them.
I missed the tour this time altogether. I saw him the last tour when they hit Nashville at Nissan Stadium, but
Right,
that was what 3 years ago. But
yeah,
it was that, and the lockdown was just kind of lifting. I
right,
saw Clapton over at the Bridgestone a couple weeks before that, and
right.
everybody's just. I mean, I'm expecting all these masks, and I mean, especially in Nashville, right? Because they tend to lean that way, but no, man, everybody was it's like women's lib into bras, those masks were gone.
Yeah, right, right, right.
Do
Yeah.
you ever get used to working with great I mean, you're a great musician, so I don't mean when I ask this, I'm not asking it to minimize your impact and your level of expertise. But I mean, to go in with these guys that see big names all the time, and we already talked about Daryl and Charlie, but you've worked with Lucinda, you worked with Charlie Musselwhite. I mean, these are great names too. And
Yeah.
I mean, I interview people like you guys, and I'm still pinching myself, and I'm in my 16th year doing it. Yeah, how does
Yeah.
it hit you working with people like that?
Well, my experience has been so positive that way. Like, I've never met I was a Van Morrison fan, and he's one guy I didn't go say hi to because I've heard things, and I just didn't wanna get into it. Most people I've met, and I can say this from Keith Richards to Chuck to have just been so not Mavis Staples. You
Mm,
couldn't ask for a nicer, more giving person. Bonnie Raitt, she's been such a champion for me, um, and such a fantastic woman. I've known her for years now and just love her. I've just never met someone who I was a real fan of and being shocked at how how much of a jerk they were. It's
mm.
just never happened to me yet, but I'm sure there's always there's always a room in the future. But no, I've just been lucky that way. Chuck, I went back to Chuck's house years ago and wrote songs with him down in outside of Macon there.
Yeah.
And just so far my experience that way has just been so positive. But yeah, I get nervous. Lucinda came over to the house for dinner the night before she tracked on that song, and we hadn't she wasn't there was no talk about her tracking on that song. She's just a friend of Colin's, and I know her. I got to meet her a few times over the years, just loosely at the end of shows, just, and, it just kinda holistically happened. I had never sung Protection before, this the first song on the record.
I love that
So
cover,
I
by
was
the
lis
way.
Oh, thank you, and it couldn't have been a better rhythm section for that song, and I think that's what really enthused Lucinda because she's a huge fan of Charlie Drayton's and Daryl's as well, so I think she was we all had dinner the night before, but, I think, she just I had to sing it in front of her. And there's a lot of words in that song. It's not so much that, but there's a lot of meter. Like I got protection from the enemies of kind rock and roll kindness soul. You gotta. There's all these different words, and you got to get your timing. And I had to sing it in front of her, having never really sung it before, so that was embarrassing. But she was great. She came in and said, "Oh, here you should maybe you got to get that word in there." And I think you got the words wrong here, by the way. And she was like cross and stuff. She was a fabulous. And then she just started singing on the mic and just off we went, and she was ended up being a duet, and I had no idea that was gonna happen, so I was
That's
super
cool.
pleased and thankful. Yeah.
What went into your song selection process and all that? I mean, picking one of her songs and, were there others that were I mean, you have your own stuff, you did the covers. What kinda led to this mix?
Well, the last 3 records, I didn't do as much original music, and I've done all original music on my records in the past. This is my 21st record, I don't I've never been weird about doing covers, like, I'm fine with that. I find if you feel like you can bring something to a song, go ahead and do it, like, if you don't think you can, don't do it. Like, if you listen back and go, "Well, I'm not adding anything," well, then don't do it. But I've been sometimes songs are ready for a redo, sometimes because of technology, the
Right,
way it was mixed in the first place. There's a myriad of reasons. And, besides keeping the genre alive, and, so I've never been weird about it, but on my last 3, I didn't do a lot, so I felt a little pressure to come to the table with my own material this time, after 3 in a row, and I did songs of my own on those records as well, but 1 or 2.
right.
So I really kinda went in with I really tried to get writing, writing is one of those tough things, like, I grew up playing music of my heroes, and that was more important to me you know, I wanted to be like like John Hammond or like these people I loved. So I never thought about writing until I got my first record contract, and I was like, "Oh my god, what? You want me to write all?" It's like it just never really occurred to me. And I had a couple early hits here in Canada that were pretty big hits, so that was encouraging, I suppose. But it was never something that I professed to be a uh, it's hard. You gotta work at writing, and it's like it just doesn't come on a platter. And
Right.
yeah, you gotta have those disappointments, for every 5 songs you start, maybe 1 or 2 is gonna be the one that you go, "Oh, hey, man, I really like that." So, anyway, I guess it's a long way of saying I wanted more this time and tried to make that happen, and, Um, it's an amazing process when it works, and it's one of those muscles you have to keep flexing because I think singing always came relatively naturally to me. I mean, playing, and but writing is the thing you got to work on. For me.
People think it's easy, but I mean, I'm not a musician, but whenever I have to write an article or something, I I mean, and I'm not trying to put notes to it or, you know, fix it into a certain cadence, but it's tough enough, so I can imagine what you're doing is even more, and us fans, we just listen to it and go, "Yeah, I like that song,"
Right. Yeah.
You
Well, I find
sweated over
especially
it, you
yeah.
know?
Well, I find especially in the blues idiom because
Yeah,
some of the, Willie Dixon wrote the Bible on that, and and it's always in its simplicity that it shines. It's not a wordy thing. It's not a so you got to, in contemporary life, you could easily get too wordy. We have a different vocabulary now, and years have gone by, and you got to be careful not to. I don't know. It's got to feel natural,
yeah,
and I find the blues idiom can be so easily rife with tropes, or black magic woman. Like there's so many uh, ways you could fall into traps,
yeah, yeah,
and eventually be inauthentic if you're not careful.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's the danger, really trying to create a level that I don't know, that you're happy with.
yeah.
And yeah,
Well, blues, I'm just still pleasantly surprised that, it's been on a good, solid upward trajectory and not just cycled out real quick. It seems to have, it's always around, right? But it seems like the popularity would ebb and flow over the years. And now it's just been, I think it's a testament to people like you, like Bonamassa, like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, all you guys that are in the genre and doing it extremely well and keeping it fresh, not just alive, but keeping it fresh. That's
yeah,
what I think is key because keeping it alive, you know, it could just be on, Heart Machine, right? And just sound kind of redundant, but you guys are doing the heavy lifting on it and keeping it fresh, and that's what I love about the new stuff coming out. 21 albums. What surprises? Were there any surprises in putting this album together that you hadn't run into or were pleasant surprises for you? I know, we mentioned about who worked on the album with you, but were there any other surprises there?
well, I got to put a shout out to this one woman that came and sang. I mean, the McCrary sisters in Nashville are
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
worked with them before, and they're fantastic. But there was a woman named Ruby Amanfu in Nashville, a young lady who came in and sang on da, da, da. What's the song on the record? I'm blanking on the name. She sings on a song on the record, and she had this beautiful, uh, just a beautiful voice, and I got to sing with her on that song, and um, I really enjoyed that. I mean, apart from that, I had to engineer some of the record myself because I did all the work with Colin, and he had a beautiful U67 1960s mic. I came back here to Vancouver, and I had a nice mic, but it wasn't a U67. So I
Toy
bought a U.
shopping.
I had to buy a U67 because I got back here. I had a C12 and AKG, beautiful mic, tube mic like this is. But I realized that I wasn't going to be able to complete the vocals. Like we weren't completing whole tracks. We were just putting words in here and there. And I sent him a couple tracks and he says, I'm really noticing a huge microphone difference. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to have to buy a mic. No, twist my rubber arm. At the, at the end of the
So
day,
your wife is going, "Not only guitars like are hanging in the background, now you're buying microphones. Why
yeah,
not have?"
yeah.
Right? So
Well, a mic like that's a mic for life. But anyway, the short of the story was I've never worked on Pro Tools a lot. So I had to kind of become an engineer because I had guitar overdubs to do. So I had to mic up my own stuff, set my own stuff,
mm,
put it on tape, consolidate, edit. So for me, I mean, I've always been a bit of a techie. I'm okay with that, but I've never worked on Pro Tools, and we had a direct single signal going with the guitar as opposed to the amps, just so in case there was a problem with the amps, he could reamp it,
right.
and that means now you're editing more than one track at a time, which means you got to fold back the two things at once.
Mhm.
So I had a bit of a nightmare, like technically for me, but I learned a lot And I guess at the end of the day, I'm way more capable because of it. So it was a bit
Until
of
you're
heart.
away from it for a while, then you gotta remember it all, right?
You
So
know what? You're absolutely right. It's already been 4 months, and I came in here to work the other day, and I went, "How do I turn that on?" I had to sit there for 5 minutes, going logically. Okay, it goes from there to there. Anyway, yeah.
so
So that's all.
working in the studios, I mean, I interviewed Andy Timmons a couple weeks ago, and the interview just posted today.
Yeah.
But he did an old Beatles song, and he recorded it in Abbey Road
Oh,
or at
nice.
Abbey Road, and he was
Yeah.
talking about the microphones that the Beatles used way back then, they're still using them today, and so,
Yeah.
I talked to other people who recorded in Muscle Shoals and, all that. Do you find that for you, and especially working at Collins' studio, and he's obviously recorded other people there, do you feel like there's kind of almost like a spiritual or sonic patina that's in a studio that you feel it as a musician? You walk in there and it's very palpable to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I actually my last record was mixed at Abbey Road Studios.
That's right, I've
But
forgotten about that, yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Um, you know, yeah. There's the studio itself and how and there's just sometimes it's just luck. Everyone in the room that day. I mean, what makes a track great? That's sometimes it's just the magic of that day. For some reason, how everyone's playing together. I mean, I cut a Van Morrison song years ago, Into the Mystic, and
Mhm.
it did quite well. And at the time, we thought, oh, we'll just hide it in the back of the record. No one expected much of it, and it ended up doing more business than anything else on the record,
Wow.
much to everyone's surprise. And I think the beauty of that recording was it was live. It was the very last thing we did. We had a long 2 days of tracking, and I pleaded to my guys in the studio before we did it. I said, "I know everyone's tired. Would everyone mind if we just took another shot?" Because we had tried it and it wasn't working. And I said, "Would everyone mind just trying one more time for the last thing we do of the day?" And everyone said, "All right." And we got magic. And I don't know what it was that day, but everyone leaned into the song in a certain way. And the way the song lifted, nobody could predict it. It wasn't gear, it wasn't microphones, it was energy.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's that. There's technology and a studio's ability to get that, and then there's just magic. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that that's that one thing you can't quantify.
You can't predict it and you can't manufacture it either.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot.
It's like chemistry that even with if it's the same people over and over, it's like family reunions or class reunions, things like that. It just something
Yeah.
happens.
The only bad thing about that track, I can tell you, and I don't know why I'm going on about that, but it's an example. At one point in the song, we were having such a good take. I was so excited, and I leaned back to do a lick. It's too late to stop now. I sang that, and then I was so flat, and I don't tend to sing flat, but I did, and I yelled the F word so loud that it leaked into the drums. So we spent like a half a day trying to extract my expletive. So
Yeah. Sometimes
yeah.
there's only so much lipstick you can put on the pig, right? So,
That's right.
so I know it's always hard to pick a song, and it's never. I don't say they're favorites, but what on this album, what song would you point to as a calling card? And I'll tell you mine first, because I mean, first of all, it's hard to pick one as a calling card for this, in my opinion. But I
Right.
just absolutely love "Too Far Gone." I just
Well,
that
that's the song I couldn't remember the title of a second ago. That's the Ruby. That's the one that Ruby Amanfu
Oh, okay. Alright.
sings on, and she's doing that really pretty singing on those
Mhm,
choruses. And
mhm.
she's written songs for her. The woman who closed out the Olympics.
Yeah,
She's just soulful, man. And I haven't sung with a lot, like with women on a track a lot in my life. In fact, Bonnie Raitt sang on my second record many years ago. Mavis Staples sang on Bad Habits years ago on Freedom.
Mhm.
And then really since then, I don't know, well, just a couple backups maybe on a record, but no one really taking stage. So yeah, anyway, I love Too Far Gone. That was a writing session where, um, and it's funny, because we thought the chorus might be too obvious when we wrote it. And I think we all had a bit of, we were second guessing the chorus. And I think I went, no, no, I think it's fine, you guys. And actually, I think so we had a bit of an argument about it, but to this day, I think it's more than fine. And I'm glad you like that song because that's one of my faves on the record too, for sure.
Just the feel, the vibe of it, the tone, everything, the style, on the guitar, just the everything about it. I don't know how to describe certain things on guitars. The only guitar I play is an air guitar anymore, but
Right.
there's just the licks in there, everything, the feel of it. Just um, like I said, I hit the repeat button a lot on that one. So it's
Oh, night. Well, it's got that R&B. It's got a bit of like R&B, like a soul ballad to it, but we have an Echoplex on the guitar, a really nice vintage kind of 50s Echo. No, but that one I was really, that's probably the one I listened to the most
really,
after the record. Protection, just
yeah.
because I couldn't believe I was singing with Lucinda Williams. Like, I've been a fan of hers. When I first heard Car Wheels on a Gravel Road,
Mhm.
when I first heard, "Lay Me Down in Another Night in Your," uh, um, it's over, but I can't let go. When I first heard "Can't Let Go," I was driving my car and it came on, and I went, "Who the is this?" And had to pull over. I went, "It's not Bonnie. No, it's not. Who is that?" And ever since then, I've just been a massive fan of her writing too. Like, it's one thing that she's such a great stylist, but as a writer, I don't know if she's got a parallel out there as far as volume and
Uh,
intensity of her writing.
mhm.
So anyway, I was the whole record was like that though. Playing with Charlie Drayton, especially we did a song. There's a love song that I wrote that I sang at my daughter's wedding,
Mhm.
"How It Feels to Be Loved."
Mhm.
And Charlie Drayton, I know he can do that stuff because on "Take It So Hard" on the Keith Richards record, they do a Memphis style stacks
Yeah. Yeah.
song. So I knew he would bring it to that song in a huge way. And he took it down at the end of the song, and he didn't tell anybody he was going to take it down. How it feels to be. And then he went, "What?" And he hit down and went down in dynamics and didn't warn anybody. So it's all natural what you hear, and
Wow.
that was awesome.
Very cool. I mean, we keep going back to these names and these people. Who haven't you worked with that you still want to?
It's a hard question because I mean, I've never, well, I've sung with Mavis before. I love her. A lot of the people like that I really, when I was like in my formative years, like John Hammond, I've had a chance to play with John Hammond. Not much, just on one track, on one thing. And got to know him over the years, and I adore him. And Mavis, I've had a chance. Albert Collins, I got a chance to play with Stevie Ray
Wow.
Vaughan. I mean, I've been really fortunate. A lot of my people, I don't know. I don't know. I've never had a chance to really. I knew Charlie Sexton years ago, and I've never really had a chance to. I should have gone back and said hi to him when he played with Elvis Costello. My
Yeah.
my management company manages Elvis Costello, and I didn't go back. I should have gone back and said hi because we haven't said hi in years. Doyle Bramhall, I'm a fan of Doyle's. I've never had a chance to really meet him much. Yeah, there's some people out there I'm a big fan of, but I must say I've been really fortunate to a lot of people I was, you know, fans of. I've had a chance to meet.
Very
Ry
cool.
Cooter. I've never had a chance to play with Ry Cooter. I guess
Oh,
Ry Cooter. I named my son after him. Yeah, my
it's
son's
just
name's Rylan.
you mentioned Stevie Ray Vaughan. Before I started Boomerocity, I was, in Dallas, and I actually went to his funeral, y right
I
there
did
in Dallas.
too.
You were
I was
there?
there.
No
Yeah.
way. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
Lord's
was,
Prayer by Stevie Wonder, and,
yeah, but Stevie Wonder, Bonnie Raitt, and Jackson Browne singing Amazing Grace.
oh,
One
yeah,
of the cool
Jeff
I walked up right when that happened.
Well, Charlie Comer, Stevie's publicist,
Mhm.
was my publicist.
Ah, okay.
I was supposed to play with Stevie a week after he died in London, England at the Hammersmith.
Wow.
So I had finished up a tour with Michelle Malone, who's
Mhm,
a Alabama gal.
mhm.
Is she a Georgia? Or is she Alabama? She's from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And anyway, we'd finished, and that's when the accident happened, and me and my wife uh, went back to Vancouver, and then got a call that we were straight to Dallas. So you were there.
I
That's
was there.
crazy.
Yeah.
Me too.
I had the
That's nuts.
pictures of it, but I lost them in the divorce, so
Oh no.
yeah, but yeah, I
Well,
walked up, I actually had a picture of Stevie, Bonnie, and Jackson. That I mean, I walked right up, had the camera with me, and I snapped that picture. They were
oh
standing there.
my
Of course, they
God.
had the painting of Stevie with his hat, and it was all on a tripod, and you could see
Yeah.
the family, Jimmy and the family, the guys from
Yeah.
Top were there.
Jeff
Um,
Healy was there. I
oh, I
was
didn't know
there.
that. I didn't know Jeff
Jeff
was
was there. Yeah, Jeff was
wow.
there. Yeah. Yeah, it was a heavy, heavy day. I remember the photographers up on the hill above the just like like just a train of photographers snapping pictures from a distance. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a heavy day, man. That was just, I ended up going to England and playing a show with Los Lobos at the Town and Country. But
Mhm.
had Stevie not gone into that terrible accident, my introduction to London, England would have been the Hammersmith, and I found the poster the other day from the Hammersmith.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I thought to myself, it was a week in front of him passing, so there must be a poster. I don't know why I didn't think of it till now. So about 6 months ago, it was like 5 in the morning. For some reason, I was up and I typed in Steve Ray Vaughan, Colin James, uh, the venue in London, Hammersmith, and I'll pop this poster from a poster collector. So I took a picture of the picture because they had done a beautiful picture, had it framed, sent straight to a canvas shop where they where they made a poster and sent it to me. I got it in my garage.
Oh, cool.
So
That is very
yeah,
cool.
that's kind of neat. But
I've had the
yeah, that's
privilege of
amazing.
interviewing Jimmy Vaughn since then 3 or 4 times, got to meet him in person when he played here in Knoxville, which I live up in the Smokies, but Jimmy couldn't be a nicer guy, and
Nice.
just but man, I can't believe you were there at Stevie's funeral. People don't
Yeah.
believe that I was there, but I was there. I got in trouble with my ex-wife because I had the day off, and my daughter was off from school. She was preschool at the time. I was registering for college. I worked a full-time job and was registering to restart my education, and I had strict orders not to go to the funeral.
Oh
Well, my
wow.
my daughter expressed interest, and I wanted to be a good dad, so we went to the
Right.
funeral.
Oh, there you go. Well, I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, I think I did too. So, well, hey, couple more questions for you. What do you I touched on this earlier, but I want to hear your opinion of it, and that is, what do you think the state of the blues is today? Are you excited about it? Do you feel like are people taking too much for granted? Do you think what's your take on it?
It's a big question. Um, well, obviously, the form is always going to have new fans. I was talking to someone the other day, and technology has brought us a lot of good things. Not just, I mean, sometimes it's bad, but sometimes it's great. A young kid now who's 14 years old can watch Sunhouse, can watch Albert Collins live in Japan, can get his hands on everything. When we were younger, you couldn't get your hands on anything. You had to go to the public library. I need to find a Chuck Berry record. Yeah, you'd
Yeah, good
go
luck
through
with that.
bins and yeah, you go through bins of used record stores. You'd never find what I at least I rarely found what I was looking for
Same here.
until we had the streaming services where I could figure out where that came from. You know, the bad thing, obviously, is the fact that monetarily and just making a living at this has become so much harder. It's so much harder for a young musician to get out in this world because so many people putting material out now and flooding the market, and when there really is no market.
Yeah.
So those are the confusing things about it. And I think the budgets have gotten, we have less money to work with when we make a record now, so we have to find ways. And, where it used to be you could sit in a studio for 3 weeks, now you gotta get in and out in 2 days and take it home.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, making records is more difficult because I used to go do beds for a week. Then the band would fly home. I'd fly home, say, hi to my wife. I'd fly back to where we're making the record, and I'd spend 2 weeks with the producer sitting right beside each other every day from 1 to 5 or
Mhm.
1 to 8. Now you got to do it on email. Hey, I replaced the
Dropbox
solo
it.
on yeah, I replaced the solo on that song. Oh, by the way, I think the harmony is sharp on the third. And you have to do it in piecemeal now, and it's just difficult to get all the things you want to say to your co-producer long distance because the budgets aren't there now.
Yeah.
And I find that challenging. And I guess how does that relate to the blues in this day and age? I guess for me, the only thing I find sometimes is that guitar has become a uh, 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 um, a way to compete with other guitar players.
Yeah.
There's this tendency to I'm gonna outshine you, or I'm gonna and I guess I find that frustrating because my heroes not just Albert Collins and BB King and Albert King, they were singers and they were players, and they told a story with their singing, and then they told a story with their guitar, and it was meant to complete the story, not to have a 5-minute guitar solo. And I guess I long for that a little bit, the soul of it to shine through instead of the. But that's just the nature of it. What can you say? I don't know. Some people look for different things in music, and that's just the way. That's just the way it is. So
Something I thought of though, I didn't write this down, but it just popped in my mind. Are you seeing yet the impact of AI on what you're doing or what, in the genre at all?
I have not, and I imagine that they're gonna go for the Katy Perrys and the people who are gonna be mass worldwide Bruno Mars style successes.
Right.
They are gonna get AI first. I'm thinking. Um, I bet you they could do it with anybody though, and I'm sure if I heard a song that had my voice on it, it would be absolutely shocking. I've listened to some radio shows where people surprise the host by taking his voice and surprising the host of his own show with what his voice would sound like AI, and it was shocking to the
Whoa.
person. They went, "Oh my god, that's me," So, yeah, it is scary, and, I mean, all this stuff is scary, just as scary as it was when music got taken down by Napster.
Yeah.
That was scary, and look what happened, record companies made backroom deals with Spotify and Apple, and we're in the same position we always were, just
Mm.
less.
Now
So,
catalogs being bought out, that all converges at some point down the road, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. So, it is scary, and I just, you just gotta hope that people's morals will win out at the end of the day.
I hope you're right, man.
Because I mean, I gotta take 8 imposters off my website every day, trying to
Really?
fish money out of my fans. Yeah, like 8 to 10 people a day, and they come from all over the world. And there's people who sit in a job like this who just do it. They're not after me, but they're after me and 80 people like me, and it's a job for them. And that's a moral issue, but poverty, the need for, who knows?
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah, what are you gonna do?
What's next for you, man? I know you gotta run, but what's next for you that we can be watching for? You gotta be working on another album already.
Well, I try to get right back at it. I had a writing session last week, and but now everything's starting to come up with this. So we have a Canadian tour planned for just the new year, like February, March.
Mhm.
I'm playing a riverboat cruise in France, in in October, we're going up from Lyon to Dijon, or from Arles to Dijon and back. Um, we have an American tour starting in just a quick little jaunt through New York, Philadelphia, um, St. Louis for the first time in years for me. I haven't been
Wow.
Milwaukee, so we're doing a little run in September as a 4 piece. So I'm looking forward to that. I got a new agent in America in the states down in Texas, so he seems to be doing a great job. It's still a challenge for me. I'm mostly known in Canada, so for me that when I come down there, I just I hope that people come out and see me, and for years I've been kind of a household name here in Canada, but I'm still having to work it down there. So
Mhm.
you know, it's a challenge, but who doesn't want a challenge?
That's
I can
right.
I can take
Keeps things interesting.
it. That's it. Yeah.
Well, I hope you get down near my neck of the woods sometimes, Colin. I'd love to meet you in person. And as I told you before, I think, but I'm telling you again now, my door is always open to you. I love your work, and anything I can ever do to help to get the word out, I'd love to do for you. So let's just continue to stay in touch, and I'll keep an eye on your itinerary and see if you're going to be within spitting distance of me, and come over and shake hands and just say hi or something. All right.
Oh, awesome. And are you in Tennessee? Or are you in
Yes, I
no?
am. I'm up in the Smoky Mountains. I'm a couple miles
Okay.
from Dollywood. So,
Right. Well, we played the City Winery in Nashville a couple times in the last couple years, and we've opened up for Buddy Guy at the Ryman. I guess it was 2 years, 2.5 years ago now. But we do get through Nashville fairly often. But south of that, we're
I
playing
was I
Florida.
was supposed to
But
be at that Nashville show with Buddy. In fact, I just saw Buddy. I've kind of struck a friendship with Greg Guy, his son,
oh
and
yeah, he seems like a really great. I've met Greg once, but not a lot. Yeah,
he's a
he seems
super,
like
super nice guy. And we hung out a little
cool.
bit. They played over at the Harris Cherokee over on the other side of the mountain from me here. So it was super, super nice guy. I interviewed him a few months ago, and they invited me to the show, and he gave me a T-shirt of Buddy Guy's Legend, and at first I didn't notice it, and then I looked at it, and Buddy had signed within the white part of
Oh,
the thing, so I'm
oh, that's
framing that
great.
sucker. So
Buddy's awesome. That tour we did together just blew my mind. I've known him. I've done shows with him since 88 or 89.
wow,
But
wow,
that was the first time I got a real chance to do for like we did 22 shows in a row, and
my
he was
goodness.
so kind to get me up on stage every night, and I loved it. I just loved it.
Yeah. Well, I hate
Yeah,
that I missed the one in Nashville, but I'm keeping my eyes on you, man. So because I want to meet you in person, but until then, we'll keep doing these kind of things if it doesn't happen before then. And like I said, my door's always open to you. I want to support you as best I can.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
All right, take care and stay safe and well.
Will do. Have a
All right,
great
bye
day.
bye. You too.
Okay,
Bye
bye
bye.
bye.